We are live, and my friend Josh is going to be joining us tonight. Super excited to have him on. He's going to be joining us here shortly, so we'll wait for him for a little bit. And if you guys have questions, if you join in, shoot them over to us. I hope you guys are having a nice Wednesday. Oh, there's Josh. All right, let's see. Letting Josh.
We have arrived.
That was like, Josh, you're here. Yes.
The speediest thing I've ever done in my whole life. Oh, goodness.
Very exciting.
A musician is never late, said no one ever. Oh my gosh. How are you, girl?
I am great. I have been alone for over 40 days now.
Ew. Oh
Is that
gosh.
insane?
I'm lucky enough to have roommates, but that sucks. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm good because, I'm so thankful for technology, and I chat with friends every day and family. So it's been good. Yeah.
I'm really glad for that too. It paused briefly in there because I was like, wait, I need to up my brightness because I couldn't see you very well.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm super excited for our chat tonight.
Me too.
And so if anyone is watching, I'll just introduce what I'm doing first for anyone who joins in, doesn't know what's happening tonight. So I thought it would be a super exciting and fun little adventure to do live Q&As with my friends and colleagues who work in not only the music industry, but also just the arts, because I think I can learn so much from so many people in the industry. And I also thought it would be a great way for my audience too, because I have a lot of students who follow me on Instagram and family and friends who maybe aren't arts. They're not artists. I've been
Or like otherwise they don't consider themselves a part of the arts, but they appreciate the arts.
Yes, yeah. So I thought it'd be great for me to learn and great for other people to learn. And you, Josh, you are the first person that came to mind when I thought of this, because you're
I'm
just
just
such
really
a
glad we did it.
yeah, you're such a great friend. You're super talented at many things.
Oh,
So
stop. No, please.
oh, you really are. Yeah. Um, why don't we start off with you just telling everyone your career path and what you're all about?
Well, I will start from when I went to college. I went to college in Philadelphia, just at a private Christian college that was called the University of Valley Forge, and I graduated with my bachelor's in church music. So I initially was planning on being a worship pastor, and like that was my thing. I worked at a church then almost immediately after graduation. I graduated early in December of 2014. And then in 2015, I got to do a couple of fun side projects right out of graduation. And then I started working at a little Montessori school for a minute. And then moved to Grand Rapids. After the previous summer, I had interned up here at Grand Rapids First Assembly, and then subsequently got hired there. Worked there for a couple of years, and then left to do my more like theater related stuff. Or actually, I left initially to teach more students because that was where I found my passion lied a little bit more presently, and I was just kind of following my gut. And then that led me into finding theater, and that's what my job is now as a music director and an educator of the arts. And I teach classes at Civic Theater even right now through the quarantine stuff. We do online classes, which is super fun.
I didn't know that
But
you were teaching there.
oh yeah, sorry, I probably should have told you about
That's
that.
so exciting. Well, I mean, this is another reason, like, I'm learning so many things just doing these Q&As.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of us have adapted so much just as a result of all this, but I never would have thought that a career in the arts um, could adjust so presently to a pandemic like this,
Hmm.
which I'm fortunate enough, and you and I are fortunate enough to adjust like we are. But man, like,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Wow, you teach
yeah.
at Civic. What class do you teach?
So it's actually three different levels of musical theater class right now, and I've taught everything between like an auditions class, so it's prepping you on how to prepare a song, and then I'd work with another teacher that was a dance teacher because I don't dance like they needed to dance, but so I'll work with another teacher, and then we'll together make a sort of mock audition for kids and other levels, that they can understand what an audition is like if it seems scary.
Hmm.
Um, I've taught a musical theater core class of like singing and dancing for the first time together, for levels second and third grade, fourth and fifth grade, and they're now doing a level sixth through 12th grade and just lumping all of those together,
Wow.
which is super fun because they're doing High School Musical and it's so fun.
Oh, that's super fun. That's also
Yeah,
quite a range of age.
yeah, quite. That's what I love about Civic too, is that even though I don't teach adults necessarily, I still am able to teach, young adults and high
Yeah.
schoolers all the way down into like, 4 and 5 year olds. It's
Yeah.
so much fun too. And everybody loves theater. They wanted a little piece of it.
Uh-huh. Awesome. Well, let me look at what was the other question that I had for you. Um, yeah, you talked a little bit about how you had coped with doing some online classes, but I also
Yeah.
know that on top of your civic stuff, you you teach at the piano cottage, right?
Yeah, that was
So,
my job right out of leaving Grand Rapids first and then doing uh, lessons teaching was through the piano cottage.
and you still do that?
I do, yeah.
How
I
many
have
how many
about like
students do you have?
I was just gonna say I have about between 25 and 30. I've lost count in between all
Whoa.
this
Oh my
because,
goodness.
and
You're
it's fun though
so
too because
busy.
they let me be so flexible with my schedule now. I mean, especially even more flexible. Even before they, it would allow me to move students around, reschedule
Hmm.
things here and there, just when I needed to work on a show or something like that. And then now even with picking up more civic classes that would be normally during an average teaching hour, like after school hours, then now I'm able to teach as early as like 2 in the afternoon or sometimes 1:30 in the afternoon, all the way until
Hmm.
like 6:30 at night, which is nice.
Yeah.
Before I couldn't do that, but students are really cool. Like they're super gracious. I teach piano and voice.
Hmm.
I would teach other things if I felt like I was better at other things, but here we are.
I mean, you're doing quite a few things right now, Josh.
I well,
Voice,
we just choose your
piano,
strengths.
theater, music directing, and
Yeah.
performing. Like, man, you're doing a lot. That's so cool.
Which, speaking of music directing, I'm also working on another concert.
Oh, what
I'm
what
working on
concert?
a circle concert, which is gated to still happen, whether that be
Ooh.
digitally or otherwise.
Yeah.
But it's the circle concert called Hello Sunshine, and it's all music of. I just realized my camera is crooked. Let's fix that. um, it's Hello Sunshine, and it's just your favorite summer songs all rolled into one big concert. I'm
That's
working on
fun.
that with my good mentor and friend, Kathy Gibson. Um,
Was
but
she,
yeah,
I know her, right? She was the
yes, you do,
director.
because she was the
Hmm.
director for last summer's concert, the 21st Century Broadway one.
Yes. She's awesome. I love her.
Yeah, she also remembers you very much. She's like, when can we get Larissa again?
That's awesome. I hope very soon. I would love to come back.
I hope so too. I miss working alongside you. I miss
And
doing
what
like
was,
weddings and stuff.
yeah, what was the last show we played? It was I Love You, You're
Are you
Perfect,
talking?
Now Change.
Yes.
That
It
was
was I
so
Love You, You're
fun.
Perfect, Now Change.
That was so fun to just
Oh
be
my gosh.
up on the stage with the actors and just
Yeah.
you and I, just
It
like
was
a
a
little
very bare
duet.
score. It just called for at minimum piano, and then if you wanted something a little extra, then you add violin. And I wanted the extra because it's worthwhile working with you. But um,
I'm glad
yeah,
you wanted the extra.
I'm
It
glad
was
we
fun.
got it because also I don't think I'll ever forget you laughing so hard at at Zach Avery every time he would come out as Trentel and he'd be in the
Like
prisoner's
right next to
jumpsuit
us.
and just my name is Trent.
Yeah, I will always remember that.
Oh gosh.
Oh, and do you remember when the last show? because of the draft, my E string just went super out of
Oh
tune.
yeah,
Like
complete. It's just like
in
you.
the middle of the first act, like
I
as
remember
I'm
whispering to
playing,
you, are
I'm
like,
like,
"Are you okay?" And you're like,
I was like,
"No."
no, I'm not okay.
Just good
Uh,
times. And also, that's the beauty of live theater. You just roll with it.
mm-hmm.
Which is funny because no one would have ever known that your E string went out.
Yeah. Well, I was able to, thankfully, I think the song it went out on, I could shift up on the A string and play the notes on that
Oh,
string. So then I could still play in tune, but it's a little harder to like be like constantly like shifting up and like trying
oh
to find the
yeah.
note on the other string when you
Well, it's a good
practiced
thing
it
that
the
you've
other way.
practiced violin before, right?
I know.
You know a thing or two
Yeah.
about it.
So, can you describe being a music director? And like,
Ooh,
because I took a directing course in college, so I've done it
yeah.
before, but not to the extent that you do it. Because especially like music directing a theater production, I don't know. I'm
Mm.
so impressed with you, Josh, because
Oh
you
my
play the
gosh.
piano like a prodigy, and then you're playing the piano and you're cueing people, and you know my part and the band part, but you also know the song and the lyrics, and you're like cueing like two groups of people at the same time. Like, how do you do that?
Honestly, no, you talk it up quite a bit because realistically, musical theater is like divided into a lot of different steps in the process. In order to make something huge happen, like you have to have a big team of people to pull it off. Um, if you are if for whoever may be ending up watching this as an archive or whatever, if you're ever interested in music directing, I would highly recommend shadowing someone like I did, because otherwise I wouldn't have known what the hell to do right away.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, I was fortunate enough in like gaining my footing of what that's about, and to even see it kind of like piqued my interest was because my boss at the time at the Piano Cottage, currently it's Piano Cottage changed management, but he's still around anyways. But Wright McCarger, bottom line, Wright McCarger invited me into a ragtime rehearsal at Civic Theater when they did it
Oh, that's cool.
3 years ago. Oh my gosh, that's 3 years ago. That's weird. Um, and so when they were rehearsing for ragtime, I got to watch the whole process of him, standing there with his music and his baton and like the accompanist there and like watching the choreographer and the director, associate director, all those people work, and then the actors on stage and working like their individual pieces. Um, and then I watched it from that point all the way until dress rehearsal, and he had me sit through dress rehearsal and like take
Mm-hmm.
notes on what I heard and like what I liked and what I saw. And it was a really unique experience that I don't think that many people get in order
Mm-hmm.
to say, I want to do this thing, like let me learn more about it. I got to play in the pit for that show, and that was another aspect of that.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for anything better. But then along the way, then I had mentors like him and Kathy Gibson and Chris
Yeah.
Carter and like a bunch of other people that have either been my directors or um, music directors above me, kind of like teaching me and grooming me for that because they know what it takes to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but coming back to your original question of what is actually music directing, um, where you are kind of like what you described, you're rehearsing the vocalists in a rehearsal setting, you're teaching all the music, you're finding the balance of harmonies, you're critically listening to every rehearsal to see how can we make this better and better and better. Um, you're helping everybody marry their sound together so it sounds unified and pretty, or nasty and aggressive, or however you want it to be. The music has to have feeling.
Mm-hmm.
um, you're also responsible and lucky enough to hire talented people around you, like a band, with violin or whatever the musical calls for. And then you
Mm-hmm.
rehearse separately with them, typically. Sometimes you don't get this, what they call it, a zitz probe. You don't get a zitz probe, so you just kind of throw them all in and do it together, which is what we did. Um, or I forget, did we do a zitz probe for Freaky Friday? It was over a
I
year ago
thought we
already.
did.
And we
That's
did like a
crazy.
mock. I
That's
know for
crazy.
I
It
Love
was
Your
that
Perfect Now
long
Change,
ago.
we did a mock zitz probe, which was really fun. You sat in on our rehearsal and we just like
Yeah,
played
that
through
was
it
super fun.
cold. Oh, it was so much fun.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's fun for me. I don't know how it felt for you, but it was fun for me.
Oh, it was, oh no, that was so fun because I had never done anything like that.
Like a rehearsal play?
Like being, yeah, with a theater production.
Interesting. I'm
Yeah,
really glad that you got to do that too, because that
yeah.
I remember the actors telling me after that night, they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be freaking amazing," and I was
Oh,
like, "I
really?
know, I told you,
Oh,
right?"
that's so cool. It was such a great show. It was just, I loved the variation of the music too.
Hmm.
Because in that
There were lots of
show,
different styles, even though we only had two
yeah,
instruments, you and I.
yeah, there was
There was
some
everything from
jazz,
like
there was
habanera
like
in there, the
hoedown.
jazz, just like a rock style here and there.
Yeah,
There was even like baby lullabies, like
yeah, it was quite exciting just because of how varied the genres were
yeah.
of the music.
And it
Yeah.
truly told to the variety of music that there was how much the violin and how versatile the violin is amidst
Yeah.
all of those different styles too. I
Mm-hmm.
never realized how much or how heightened each of those songs became when you added the violin in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
Yeah.
very special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love getting to like do music directory things. Like music
Yeah.
directing is freaking awesome. I hope I get to do more
Have
of that.
you um have you did you tell me that you were in a Broadway musical? Or did I make
I
that up?
was in not a Broadway musical, but I was in my first time on stage in the community theater in Grand Rapids was
Hmm.
in Thoroughly Modern Millie. Um, and they did that production 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
It was right after Ragtime.
Cool. What other, because you've been in a lot of different musical settings, kind of like I have,
Mm,
outside of theater. Because
yeah,
you play in weddings too. Like you've played in weddings with me.
yeah. Which is
What
actually how we
other,
met, was doing a
yeah,
wedding
that's how we
together.
met. Isn't that funny? Oh,
I love that too. Also, you met me during that wedding when I decided that it was a good idea to play Moana during the prelude.
that was awesome. No one ever noticed.
I'm sure they never do.
Yeah,
But
for anyone
oh
who
gosh, I
doesn't know
remember.
watching this, Josh is an amazing improviser. Like he can just
I
like
think I never
sit
had
at the
music for it, but I was
piano
just like, oh my
and
gosh,
just
like I feel
play
like this right now.
whatever and it sounds like butter. Like it just flies out of your fingers and it's like perfect.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can say the same for you too, because we improvised. What did we have to improvise for that same wedding? It was something that they pulled out of their butt, and they were like, "Hey, can you play?" And then we pulled up like some hymnal, and then it just turned out gorgeous. I don't know what happened.
I don't remember that
It was
either.
I was sight reading. I didn't know
Oh,
the hymn.
it was because they had one of the bridesmaids sing it. She showed up. She's like, "Oh yeah, by the
That's
way, I'm gonna
right.
sing this with you." And we're like, "Oh, you're singing with us." And we were in
And we
like
are
the
like, "Where's
total
your
different
track?"
key.
And then we're like, "Oh."
So we had to figure it out on the fly, which is fine because we can do that because we practice so much. But
We are trained, educated musicians. We can
we are
do this.
professionals. Yeah, that was
Oh
an
my gosh,
experience though.
man! And
So
aside from like, huh?
yeah, so what other settings have you played in before?
So I actually got my start playing in church. I started in seventh grade, which is around the time I started piano. I started piano like sixth, seventh grade or so as a birthday gift because I was begging for it. And very shortly after that, like I hadn't even been taking for a year, and I learned some chords, and so they stuck me on the youth group worship team. And
Nice.
so, trial by fire, you
Yeah.
eventually get it. But uh, I played in the youth group worship team for several years, and then I played in like Sunday mornings at my home church back in Toledo. And then
Hmm.
from there, that's when I went to college, and then that was what I decided that I wanted to do as my career is play in church and like direct that sort of thing.
Yeah. That was, I think we only got one question from my audience. So if anyone's watching, definitely like post a question below for Josh if you have one. But
Those questionable questions.
my my friend my friend Madeline texted me and she asked, and I think you might have touched on this, but maybe you could go in more into depth.
Sure.
How did you get into music directing?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Like
Um,
specifically.
because I could go into a little bit more depth about it too. When I talked about my boss, Wright McCarger, taking me into ragtime rehearsals, what it really was is that he saw some sort of affinity, propensity, I don't know what it is, in me and said, "Do you want to go to breakfast? I have a proposal for you," or like, "I just want to kind of get to know you a little bit more as like one of my employees." And I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
We went to breakfast, and then I was telling him about my passions and stuff, and I just left my other job, and I was like kind of looking for just more, I guess. And I was like, I don't know
Hmm.
what I'm doing. I would like to try some new things, but like, I just really want to get more into music in some way. He's like, "Why don't you just join me for rehearsal?" And that was when I went to ragtime rehearsal, just as, a thought of maybe this might be a thing that I might like. And then I came to another rehearsal and another rehearsal. And then he handed me the entire score for ragtime. I didn't actually share this before. He handed me the whole two-book score for ragtime and said, "Learn this. We might need you soon." And he knew that
Wow.
the accompanist was going to be out for one of the rehearsals and he was going to have to play it. He didn't want to play it, so he had me play it.
Uh-huh.
And I learned the whole score of ragtime in like 2 weeks or so, played it for the rehearsal. Um, and people had no idea who I was because the first rehearsal I came in with a notepad. I was taking notes for no one other than myself. No one knew who I was. I wasn't introduced. And I was wearing fake glasses and long hair and like all this stuff in this frumpy sweater just behind right taking notes. And people are like, "Who the hell is he?" So that was my introduction to theater, was that sort of story. And then
Wow, so
eventually
he
I ended up playing for ragtime. And
he really
um,
had a lot of faith in you.
oh, tell me about it. He
Hmm.
had heard me play from, he taught at Piano Cottage and he had heard me play just like practicing in the room back when I had a smaller studio. Then I've since upgraded to a larger one. Um, but when I guess he maybe had heard me practice, I'm not sure. He was like, "See if you can learn this stuff," and like just kind of like tossed stuff at me. And I don't know. But then he also is the one that got me connected in the community theaters. And that's how I really got a start in
Wow.
like people taking a chance on me to do. I think my first gig was like actually music directing. My first music directing gig was at Circle Theater
Hmm.
because Wright had given them my name and said, "You want to try out this kid? Like he might be good for music directing one of your concerts." So they gave
Hmm.
me the Broadway Babes concert that year, which was a massive undertaking with Kathy yet again.
Hmm.
Um, and it was a massive undertaking of like some of the best female, leading lady music of Broadway. And it's hard. It was really hard work. I had to make my arrangements. Like concerts are a
Yeah.
bigger deal because it doesn't come handed to you in a box.
Yeah.
Um, you have to actually write your charts and like cast your
Yeah.
people and like
I
write your
remember this
solos.
now because also I didn't think about that. Because in 21st Century Broadway, when I worked with you on that one, you sat down with me and were asking me those kind of questions about,
Yeah,
because you were basically pretty much like composing the score,
yeah.
almost like
You
arranging it.
basically have to make all of your charts for your individual instruments. For
Yeah.
some of the songs that we did, like "You Matter to Me," Kathy so graciously made that chart, the violin chart. But essentially, for like other songs like that we wanted a specific, I want you to specifically play this line instead of improvising,
Hmm.
then I would have to write it up because it doesn't
Yeah.
exist unless you write it.
Hmm.
But it's so interesting, at least for a concert setting like that. For a show,
Yeah.
it's different.
Hmm.
Like you remember Freaky Friday, I just gave you a book and it was there and it was a lot easier.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Oh
mean,
gosh.
it further shows like how versatile you are in the fact that not only can you perform and direct, but you can also write music and arrange it, and
Mm.
you can transpose things too.
Oh yeah. Like we've even had to, for the concert I'm working on right now, Kathy and I are working on transposing, not like majorly, but transposing, what was it? "Don't You Worry About a Thing" by Tori Kelly. Well, originally by Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder? Oh shoot. I should know this. I think it's Stevie Wonder. But "Don't You Worry About a Thing" as performed by Tori Kelly, but we are transposing her key down a step.
Wow.
So it's like, it's a big deal that to
Yeah.
like, you have a chart, but then now you have to make all your own charts because you have to transpose it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
it's fun.
so Josh, do you in the past Q&As I've done, there have been some high school seniors watching and they had questions earlier
Ooh.
about like if you were a high school senior now, what advice would you have for yourself going into this career?
Oh my gosh. Um, don't take anything too seriously. Um, and don't take yourself too seriously, especially in the practice room. If you're going into music specifically, or any sort of arts related things that is objective, um, like there are very subjective things. Like if you're going into finance, you better have your numbers right. But if you're going into music, you come from a totally different background as anybody else that is going into your school. And they're going to have very high expectations for you, and you have high expectations for yourself. But do not take yourself too seriously, especially in the get-go. Like, it's a learning curve, but you'll get there. And like, don't feel like you're never going to get there. You'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is that something I thankfully successfully did, I feel, in my undergrad was I said yes to a lot. I said yes to probably too many things, but I said yes to a lot. And that led to me kind of making opportunities for myself. That's my main piece of advice is don't wait for opportunities to come your way. Make up something for yourself to do. Make yourself busy. Say yes to playing in the orchestras or the ensembles or your random roommate's weird songwriting idea. Like those are the things that really shape you as a musician, as a professional. Even if it doesn't feel like it's very professional and it's so disorganized, it's going to grow you. If someone's like, hey, we want to do this song and we want to arrange it, like I said yes to arranging a cappella arrangements. And I'm like, I've never done that before, but I have an ear for it and I can hear the parts, but I want to write them down. And I was one
Mm-hmm.
of the only people at the time that had the ability to do it, or the time.
Yeah.
I really didn't have the time, but I did it.
Yeah. Sleepless nights.
Yeah. But I don't know. Just don't take yourself too seriously. Make opportunities for yourself. Make the most out of being in a close proximity to so many talented humans.
Yeah, that's another point. In in college, in your college years as a music major, there aren't many more times in your life that you're going to be surrounded by that many people
Mm-hmm.
pursuing music
Yeah.
and just the opportunities, like you were saying, the opportunities that are available to you at that time are just like astounding.
Oh, completely. And
Yeah.
the people that you're surrounded with don't like I know that they say that the time to network is like when you're building your career. I'd say the time to network is like right when you meet your freshman classmates.
That's
Like
yeah, that's a
get
good
to know
tip
them,
too.
sit with
Hmm.
lunch with the awkward kids because the awkward kids
Yeah.
are always the smartest. Well,
Yes.
most of the time, but you know. Say no, I can't say so for myself, but like some of my friends were sometimes not the most like socially present people, and some of my friends were
Hmm.
like very social.
Yeah.
Um, some of them were like completely brilliant, and some of them like I was like, I'm thankful that you made it through theory one, like, and it's just so nice. Like, I probably I probably could phrase it a lot better than that, but essentially, no matter where you feel like the people around you are and your peers, it's to your advantage to make friends with everybody
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to glean something from everybody
Hmm.
wherever they're coming from.
Yeah, that's a really great tip too.
I
Good
know.
stuff here.
I'm just a friendly person. It comes out of me
Yes.
naturally.
You're so funny. Um, Anything else we should talk about, Josh?
I don't know. Could I actually ask you a question?
You can.
Okay. Of I guess like since you've graduated and you've graduated twice now because you have an undergrad um, in violin performance, yes,
Hmm.
as well as now a master's. And what is your master's in again?
It's called specifically arts administration.
Yes, which I
Hmm.
find incredibly useful now. Now that I've gotten more into theater and things like that, arts administrators is not an easy job, and it is somebody that it requires somebody with many, many different talents and skill sets. In addition to being a good administrator, like that's the foundation of it, but you also have to be, talented in
Hmm.
other ways, which you very much are. But being a person that is pursuant of the arts, and since you've graduated with two different degrees, in your career since you graduated, maybe since your undergrad,
Hmm.
what is probably one challenge or lesson that you would tell any of our viewers? This is a long question. What is something that you would tell our viewers to give advice, or what's a piece of advice that you would give somebody that has just graduated, uh, perhaps
Mm.
with a BFA or some sort of arts-related degree?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I was thinking about this in a few of the other Q&As I've had, and I think it's very similar to what you touched on about your advice to high school seniors. And I think it's networking and just
Mhm.
also saying yes and taking opportunities. Because
Yeah.
in anything, I think this is just like, it's all about who you know, I feel like.
Oh
In
yeah.
any field.
You work your network.
Finance, maybe
Oh,
not
Angelique is watching.
the medical field, but but
Well,
I
yeah.
but it always helps if you know people and you have a good rapport with them. They can
Hmm.
trust you. They know that you have a good, presence in a room, or you, I don't know, trustworthiness. I think is such a, if you're a hard worker, if you show up on time, if you're committed, passionate, if you know people in any
Hmm.
field, but maybe in the arts more so sometimes. I feel like
Yeah.
it's just going to help you. It's going to put your resume on the top of the stack. And I
Oh,
think
certainly.
for people who have just graduated with maybe an arts degree for their undergrad, I would
Mhm.
give them that advice of just staying connected, saying yes. Don't say yes to too many things. Don't overload yourself and burn out. But
Don't look at anybody like me.
yeah,
Oh my
don't burn
gosh.
out.
Seriously, gosh.
But
Uh,
yeah, just and it's not always about what can I do to just become the most successful that I can be. I think a lot of it too is just like the joy of doing what you love. Like when I said yes to working with you at that theatrical first performance, the Freaky Friday, like I was super
yeah.
busy. And
I remember that too. I was like, are you sure it's not too much or
but
anything? I made
but
sure
I
to give you the book
wanted
like
to do
super
it.
in advance, like just so you could look over it in case you were like, this may be a lot, I'm not sure. I'm still glad you did it.
But I was so glad that I did it because it was so much fun. And it had been like a bucket list thing for me. I was like, I've never played in a musical theater production, and this is a bucket list thing for me to do. So
Hmm.
I'm going to do this because I want to do this.
Yeah.
And
And you
it's
couldn't
just,
have picked a better show too. Like that was
yeah.
such a fun show to be a part of.
hmm
Oh
it
gosh.
was great. So yeah,
I
my
remember you
advice
saying
is
so
to
afterwards
network
that
and to say yes to things.
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
remember you specifically saying afterwards, like, this is so much fun. Like,
it was
I'm
super fun.
stressed, but this is so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I was probably working like what, like 70, 80 hour weeks during
Oh
that
yeah.
time, just with my
Because it was
symphony
also during a
stuff.
busy time
And
with like Mosaic Scholars, I think, too.
hmm
Oh
it
god.
was a crazy time, but I'm really glad that I did it, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I just remember like seeing your face and some of the questions you asked, like, wait, are they like I remember it was during like tech or something, or it was during dress rehearsals when things were starting to actually like move and the show was happening. And you said, wait, so like the actors are like moving the set pieces? That's so cool. Like
Oh
just
yeah, I didn't
little
know they
things
did
in
that
between
before.
like that. Or like the crew people backstage and they're like, wait, they like can't see them, but like they're so helpful. I've never seen the crew people before. Like
hmm
it was just really special to watch you learn so much about theater just during
Oh,
that
I
production.
still love backstage the tables of the
Oh, the prop
props and
tables?
how they're like sectioned off with tape,
Yeah.
and like they have little labels on them. I think that's so interesting.
You're like inner administrator,
Uh-huh.
organizer. Oh my gosh. It's just like, I can't believe
It's so organized.
it.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. Or as opposed to how I set up my pit where you're just like, there's no order to this. There's no right angles. And I'm like, precisely.
You're funny.
Oh my gosh. The poor drummer for that production had to be covered up with a sheet. I felt so bad. Oh man. That was because of
Mm.
reflections and lighting and stuff, but that was different.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not that I can think of.
And I think it's just like really fun to go down memory
Yeah.
lane sometimes. Like
Yeah.
theater in itself is fun, but like co-professionals, like just kind of reminiscing over what all work they've done together is just fun.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And our student recital that we did that one year at St.
Oh my
Cecilia
gosh. We should
with,
definitely talk about that because you did an amazing job organizing that.
oh, thank you. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Because
How
it was
many
not only you and
students?
I, but it was also Willem's students as well.
Matt.
Or Matt, sorry, Matt's students. I got two different cellists mixed up in my head.
How many? It was like 30 students that played or something. It was a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And
Because
they
I
were all
had
doing little
five of my
solos.
own, I think.
Hmm.
Because it was the
I
Zylstras
think
and
that's when
then
I
the Mountain
still had
Gables.
like 10, 15 students, which was a lot for me.
Mm-hmm. And now, how many students do you have?
Right now, I have 4.
Okay.
So I've cut back a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I can
Just,
imagine like working from home is a lot because it's just more working from home.
well, with my full time at the symphony and then
Hey, Trevor's here.
gigs and gigs and other stuff, it was just getting to be way too much
Oh, yeah.
with because at one point I had 15 students and a full-time job and gigs and it was like, oh.
God.
So honestly, it's been really good to cut back on students for now. I
I
still
remember a
love
time when I
teaching
cut
though.
back as well, and I'm like, man, doesn't it feel nice?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Anyone,
gosh.
okay, anyone else who's watching live have any questions for Josh?
Yeah,
We
ask
would
me like
love.
ask me for saucy details. Like, let's go. Oh my gosh. The
Otherwise, I definitely don't. I want to respect your time because we've been chatting
Oh,
for
this
a
has been
while.
so much fun. Like, I could chat forever, but
Yeah,
man, I've just had like so much fun chatting with you on live, and yeah, we should
it's
do this
super
again
fun.
soon. We'll do like a
Yeah,
Q and
this
A
was
of
great.
like worst moments of professional life, or I don't know,
Oh man. Yeah,
but show the ugly side.
yeah.
Oh gosh.
No biz like showbiz.
Exactly. Tell me about it. There's no business like.
All
Oh
right.
shoot.
Well, we can sign off now. This has been so fun and you've had really amazing tips and just your whole career and everything you're doing is awesome. You're so talented and I'm so glad that I know you, Josh.
Oh, thanks, Larissa, and thank you for having me. Just
Hmm.
a fellow talented professional. Like, goodness, couldn't have asked for better friends.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, have a wonderful evening.
You as well. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Bye.